Judge says roommate of Charlie Kirk murder suspect won't testify in person at preliminary hearing. Add AP News as your preferred source to see more of our stories on Google. Add AP News on Google. Add AP News as your preferred source to see more of our stories on Google. Share the Utah judge in the murder case of Charlie Kirk's killing has denied a defense request to force Tyler Robinson's former roommate to testify in person during the preliminary hearing, saying that the credibility of any testimony can be challenged later if the case goes to trial. Judge Tony Graf made the ruling during a hearing Monday morning, saying the purpose of a preliminary hearing is to establish whether there is enough evidence to justify bringing the case to trial, not to determine whether someone is innocent or guilty. Graf also postponed a ruling on whether prosecutors could face sanctions for comments to the media about a bullet fragment recovered from the conservative activist's body until Friday. The defense team had asked Judge Tony Graf to block the death penalty in the case, claiming the prosecutor's comments could sway potential jurors regarding his guilt. Robinson, 23, has not yet entered a plea. He is charged with aggravated murder in the Sept. 10 killing of Kirk, a close ally of President Donald Trump who was shot in the neck while addressing a crowd of thousands at Utah Valley University. Prosecutors have said DNA consistent with Robinson's was found on the trigger of the rifle, the fired cartridge casing, and 2 unfired cartridges. Defense attorneys note that forensic reports indicate multiple people's DNA was found on some items, which they say requires a more complex analysis. Read more. Robinson reportedly texted his roommate, who was also his romantic partner, that he targeted Kirk because he had enough of his hatred, prosecutors have said. Robinson's defense team asked the judge to block prosecutors from using recorded statements from the roommate in the preliminary hearing, set to begin on July 6. The roommate should be brought to testify in person, the defense attorneys said, so that Robinson can exercise his right to confront witnesses in person and challenge their credibility. But Graf denied that request, saying the time for challenging witnesses will come later. The Utah Supreme Court has repeatedly emphasized that a preliminary hearing is not a trial on the merits, but a gateway to the finder of fact. Graf said, the task of determining whether a witness is credible is a job for the jury if the case goes to trial, he said. Sign up for Morning Wire. Our flagship newsletter breaks down the biggest headlines of the day. Email address. Sign up by checking this box. You agree to AP's terms of use and acknowledge that AP may collect and use your data pursuant to our privacy policy. The case has attracted widespread attention, and online speculation and conspiracy theories grew after the defense team disclosed in public court documents that initial tests were inconclusive to determine whether the bullet was fired from the suspected murder weapon. Conjecture over that evidence fueled unsubstantiated conspiracy theories that there might have been a second shooter or that his death was staged. Attorneys on both sides have raised concerns that the misinformation and extensive media attention could taint the potential jury pool. Judge Graf held a hearing earlier this month over whether prosecutors should be held in contempt for their comments about the bullet. Robinson's attorneys accused prosecutors, including Deputy Utah County Attorney Christopher Ballard, of trying to influence potential jurors by going on a media tour to talk about ballistics evidence in the case. Ballard argued at the June 12 hearing that he didn't speak to the media about case specifics, and he only remarked generally about how ballistics testing can be inconclusive. Brown reported from Denver and Boone from Boise, Idaho. Associated Press reporter Hannah Stonebaum contributed from Salt Lake City.